MGM Resorts in Las Vegas is set to be one of the hottest destinations for 2025. With its luxurious accommodations, world-class entertainment, and exceptional dining options, MGM offers an unparalleled experience. The resort features iconic casinos, spectacular shows, and vibrant nightlife, attracting visitors from around the globe. Upcoming expansions and innovative attractions are expected to elevate its appeal further, making MGM Resorts a must-visit spot for travelers seeking excitement and luxury in the heart of Las Vegas. Visit AAA.com/MGM.
Finding the best deals, deciding which museums to visit, narrowing down the list of must-eat restaurants, these choices aren't actually the hardest part of travel planning. Because before you can even get to any of the details, you have to make one big decision first. Where in this wide and wonderful world are you going? Well, you're in luck today, because we've got two of our very own AAA travel experts here to share their top trending destinations of 2025. In this episode, we're exploring the United States of America with Westways and AAA Explorer Editor-in-Chief, Jim Benning, and Senior Features Editor, Derrik Lang. They have carefully selected these destinations not only for the fresh and fun experiences these cities have to offer visitors, but also because they're infinitely accessible no matter where you call home. So get ready. Here come the most exciting, buzzworthy U.S. travel destinations for 2025. Welcome back to Traveling with AAA and our final episodes of 2024. This is one of my favorite episodes of the year because we get to talk about all our travel plans for next year. But the hardest part of travel for me has always been choosing where to go because there are so many places to see and so little time to fit them all in. So today we're chatting with Jim Benning and Derrik Lang, and they are going to tell us their favorite places for next year. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Angie.
Let's start with our 5 domestic destinations you guys have picked for us. First one on the list, Southern California. Tell us, what's the scoop?
Yeah, I think we're going to be hearing a lot about Southern California in the next few years. Of course, LA and the region will be hosting the Summer Olympics in 2028. There is a lot going on in LA and in the entire region to gear up for that. For starters, there's a long-awaited people mover at LAX. It's finally due to be completed in late 2025. It should open in early 2026, but this, I hope, will be a game changer for what is kind of a nightmare situation at LAX right now with traffic. And I think it'll make for a much more inviting entree into the city. Also on the horizon is the new Lucas Museum of Narrative Art. This is a $1 billion museum that's focusing on visual storytelling. And of course, George Lucas is the name behind this. It's finally going to open in 2026. In 2025, we've got a bunch of things happening, not least the Destination Crenshaw development. This is a 1.3 mile long open air museum along Crenshaw Boulevard, and it's aimed at preserving the history and culture of African Americans. There'll be about 100 commissioned artworks by Black artists, new landscaping, pocket parks, community spaces. It will be the heart of the largest Black community on the West Coast. Also generating buzz is the new Intuit Dome that opened in Inglewood in August of 2024. And it's the new home of the LA Clippers. It's going to be hosting musical acts, you name it. Derrik and I had the chance to visit just recently, and it is a state-of-the-art arena that feels more intimate, I think, than a lot of sports arenas do. And I think anybody visiting the Intuit Dome will find that they're going to feel closer to the action, whether it's sports or concerts or you name it. SoFi Stadium opened there not long ago. Cosm opened. This is an LED dome that serves up immersive programming to about 1,700 guests. We're talking entertainment, sports, experiential events on like just massive screens that are inside this dome.
Wow, so much is happening in Southern California. That is enough to fill up a month-long visit. How about noteworthy new hotels? Do you have a favorite spot to eat there, Jim?
The Hotel Lucille is coming to Silver Lake. It's going to be, I think, a very cool boutique hotel. There's some amazing restaurants. I personally love Atla. It's a casual Mexican spot in Venice that opened recently from Mexico's top chef, Enrique Alvera. There's a lot going on across Southern California.
It's also a great jumping off point for other communities in Southern California. For example, Greater Palm Springs is really thriving right now. There's been lots of new restaurants and hotels opening there, like the Thompson Palm Springs, which is sort of on the border of downtown Palm Springs and the Uptown Design District. It's got this really great mezza restaurant overlooking the pool and the San Jacinto Mountains, and also the freshly completed Agua Caliente Cultural Plaza, which Time recently named one of the world's greatest places for 2024. There is a museum and a spa that celebrates the Kuea people who basically found Palm Springs and made Palm Springs what it is today by finding natural water, waterfalls, aquifers. So there's traditions, there's treatments. So that's a great excuse to go to LA and get outside of LA and experience some different culture.
And how about Oceanside? What's going on there?
Oceanside is a beachy community about an hour south of LA that has a lot going on there. They also have a new arena, the Front Wave Arena, that has an indoor soccer team and an NBA G League team. And have like Michelin star restaurants there that are overlooking the pier. It's also really known for surf culture. The California Surf Museum is there. So if you really want the like prototypical California experience, you could actually get it just one stop going to Oceanside.
So this next destination I'm excited about. I still haven't been there. It's been on my list forever. Every time I read more about it, I'm shocked at how much there is to do and how many good restaurants there are. And of course, I'm talking about Oklahoma City. So tell us what's going on there in 2025.
First of all, the Riverfront Adventure Park is there. It made a big splash since it opened in 2016. It's actually where Olympians train for like canoeing and kayaking. The visitors there can go to the 11-acre park and do all kinds of water sports and fun activities. There's an 11-acre course with these big pumps that kind of keep the water going. So you can go on the rapids without really having to go down a river. They have zip lining and you can surf there. There's climbing walls. There's a bike park. It's really like a hub of outdoor activity all in one place. Meanwhile, there's the First Americans Museum that celebrates the history, culture, and contributions of the 39 different Native American tribes that are in Oklahoma. It's got this 100,000 square foot space filled with all kinds of like artifacts and exhibits. Out back, there's like a really dramatic 90-foot tall replica of an indigenous mound, and you can take interpretive tours and walk all the way around it. It actually serves as a cosmological clock. It's really cool, really striking. And in 2025, right next door to the First Americans Museum is a new development called Okana that's opening. It's a resort with a hotel and a water park with a big lagoon. So that whole little pocket of Oklahoma City is going to be really popular, and there's going to be a lot to do there. And then there's culture too. In downtown Oklahoma City, travelers can find the Oklahoma Art Museum, which is home to the largest collection of Dave Chihuly glass sculptures. If you're familiar with him, he does those like really wavy, colorful, beautiful sculptures. There's also this immersive interactive art experience called Factory Obscura. It's housed in a building that originally was a Studebaker dealership, like in the 30s and 40s. And then the Flaming Lips took it over, and it was like a studio art space for the band. And now it's this like trippy interactive art exhibit where you can go through different rooms and see different sculptures and have different experiences.
Sounds like it's the next great place for exploring history and satisfying your adventurous side. So where do you recommend staying in Oklahoma City?
There's a couple of hotels. The Fordson Hotel, which used to be a Ford motor assembly plant. And then there's the National Hotel, which used to be this big bank. And they both kind of like lean into the history. The cool thing about the National Hotel is the lobby restaurant. They actually kept the teller dividers, and those are now the dividers for the dining booths.
At AAA, we're very excited about the upcoming 100th anniversary of Route 66. That's in 2026, but there's a lot of investment going into various motels and other places along the route leading up to that big anniversary. And Oklahoma has the longest stretch of the mother roads of any state in the country. I think that's another reason why a lot of people will be traveling through Oklahoma soon. and the opening of the Bob Dylan Center in Tulsa in 2022. I know that I'm looking forward to getting to Oklahoma City, but also detouring over to Tulsa to check out that new Bob Dylan Center.
And now the AAA Travel Minute, presented by MGM Rewards. Earn on what you love. Hurricanes, wildfires, pandemics. Unpredictable events like these can make planning, travel challenging. Fortunately, travel insurance can reimburse lost prepaid expenses so that you can cancel your trip or reschedule it for a different time or even a different destination. For trips impacted by natural disasters, many travel insurance plans allow travelers to cancel or interrupt their trip if their destination is heavily affected. In addition to unexpected trip cancellations, travel insurance also provides coverage for other things that can happen, such as travel delays or medical emergencies. This is particularly important because often US-based healthcare coverage is not accepted internationally. Be sure to explore travel insurance options with your travel advisor. Protecting your trip with travel insurance will give you peace of mind, both before and during your trip, so you can enjoy it to the fullest. This AAA Travel Minute was presented by MGM Rewards. Earn on what you love. Tell us what's going on that put Houston on your list for next year.
They just recently opened a new location for Meow Wolf, the arts collective that started in Santa Fe. They have 6 locations now, and the newest is called Radio Tav. It's in an old steel factory in Houston. It starts as a normal location. In this case, it's a community radio station. And then before you know it, there's all these interdimensional portals that open up to exciting artist-created spaces. Houston has really been embracing the arts. They have this old cistern in Buffalo Bayou Park that they've been using for a venue for art installations and sound experiences and live performances. In 2025, the artist Ricardo Mariano is expected to open this carbon positive sculpture that's also like a performance venue in the Guadalupe Plaza Park. It'll not only be like a cool sculpture, but it'll also be a performance venue, and it will generate power for the city of Houston, which I think is really cool. There's all kinds of cool, funky hotels that have recently opened or are about to open. There's actually a Texas hotel brand called Hotel Zaza that has multiple properties across Texas, including in Houston. And they have these like funky suites that you can book. Some are inspired by like space exploration. There's one that's like based on The Godfather that's really fun. And there's all kinds of other new boutique hotels opening. There's a new one called St. Augustine that's opening this fall in the heart of the Montrose district that looks like it'll be really chic. So there's like fun places to stay in Houston that you may not have originally thought about when you think about that city.
So the city known for the oil boom is now experiencing the arts. Love that. What's happening in Houston's food scene?
Culinary-wise, I mean, they have been crushing it. For a long time, Houston was just kind of known for steakhouses and that kind of traditional Texas fare. But I think a lot of the chefs there now have embraced diversity and different ethnic backgrounds. There's a food hall there that's in an old post office that has like African stall, a hot fried chicken stall. There's a sushi place. So it's a really multicultural hub for food too.
Let's go to the next destination, which never goes out of style and should probably make every list ever, because it's New York.
There's always a reason to visit New York City, right? But in 2025, the city will actually be celebrating its 400th anniversary, which is pretty remarkable. And there's going to be lots of events, tours, historical programming that really brings that history to light. One thing in particular I wanted to point out was the opening of the Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center. That happened earlier this year in 2024. So the Stonewall Inn and the surrounding area was designated as the country's first LGBTQ plus related national park when President Barack Obama was in office in 2016. So now with the visitor center, it adds kind of another layer to it as a destination. So visitors can stop in and see exhibits. They can go to talks and tours led by the park rangers that are stationed there. Obviously, like New York is a very museum-heavy destination. There's always a bunch of new exhibits and exhibitions. I think ones to point out for 2025 is the new museum is going to be expanding, and that will be open. And then the Frick collection will be moving back to its original home permanently. There's also a new museum that's expected to open in 2025 called the Hip Hop Museum, and that'll actually be in the Bronx. It's sort of indicative of like people going to New York and exploring other boroughs outside of Manhattan. So getting to Queens, getting to New York, getting to the Bronx. I think we're going to see more visitors doing that.
There is so much more to New York than Manhattan. And even as someone who lived there, there's so much that I missed. Tell us about this Top of the Rock skylift.
Top of the Rock, which is a really famous observation area. They now have this skylift attraction, which basically you stand on top of and it raises you up even further. So for those who have no fear of heights and want a really great vantage point of the city, that'll be good. Also, One Times Square is sort of redeveloping a little bit, making it more visitor friendly. That's where the New York Times Square Ball is located. So if you want to see it up close and not just like on a TV screen in your living room, you can actually go and see it and learn more about how that process works and creating it. So even with these sort of expected attractions, there's sort of new spins and new reasons to visit in 2025.
Let's go to my neck of the woods. Florida, specifically Orlando. So let's start with what everybody thinks about for Orlando, theme parks. What's new next year in the theme park world?
For Orlando, the number one is the opening of Universal's Epic Universe theme park. There's going to be 5 themed lands, and they're themed to different entertainment properties. There'll be a Nintendo world, a Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I'm really looking forward to one land in particular called Dark Universe, which will be the year-round home to Universal monsters like Wolfman, Frankenstein, Dracula. For the younger set, there's going to be a area themed to How to Train Your Dragon called Isle of Berk that looks really colorful and fun. One thing to consider is tickets to the park are only available as part of specific vacation packages. So that's something to consider when you're talking to your AAA travel agent or however you book travel when you're considering a trip, because it's going to be popular for many years to come. And then along with theme parks, you can't talk about Orlando and not talk about Walt Disney World. The Voyage of the Little Mermaid show is reopening at Disney Studios with an entirely fresh look. And the Test Track attraction at Epcot will also be relaunching after a makeover. So there's a couple of new reasons to go over to check out Disney World too. But as you know, Angie, as a Floridian, there is a lot more to Orlando than just the theme parks. It's actually become a remarkable culinary destination in recent years. The city has something like more than 30 Michelin-recognized restaurants now. Some of my favorites are the Ravenous Pig in Winter Park and Noragami in Winter Garden. So most of these are not adjacent to the theme parks. So I always like to tell people, if you're going to go to Orlando, add on an extra day, go to Winter Park, go explore downtown. There's great shopping, great restaurants. And the other thing I like to tell people about Orlando as a former Floridian as well is the outdoor activities. So you can go swimming in a crystalline freshwater Wekiva Springs State Park, or the Harry P. Lou Gardens are really beautiful, the botanical gardens there near downtown. So it's not just theme parks. There's a lot going on there, and people might be surprised to know about all the other things that you can do there if you add on a few extra days beyond the theme parks.
You know who I think does it really well is our European visitors, because they take 2 weeks or so and they will come to Orlando for the whole time, and they hit every park and they get to go on an airboat adventure and see all the alligators on the lakes, or they go hiking, or they go bird watching. There is an insane amount of stuff to do for outdoorsy people, and you would never guess if all you know about Orlando is sort of roller coasters, which I'm here for the roller coasters, but there really is so much more fun outdoor stuff and the just incredible amount of restaurants that they have in the Orlando area.
Yeah, and if you want to make it a Florida extravaganza, the Brightline train now connects Orlando with Miami. So if you want to experience Central and South Florida, that's a really comfortable option to get from one part of Florida to another part that are totally different from each other.
Tell us a little bit about some of the hotels that are opening.
I think a trend that's been emerging in the hotel market in Orlando is hotels for adults, more upscale, luxurious properties. There's this huge development that opened earlier this year called Evermore. It's set around this giant blue lagoon. There's a few different hotels and timeshare type properties there. There's a Conrad there that's really luxurious. And then as part of Epic Universe, there's a few hotels that are being built concurrently with the theme park. The centerpiece is the Grand Helios Hotel, which will be a luxury property where it has its own entrance into the theme park. We're seeing a lot of new hotels open in Orlando that are catering to business travelers, to adult travelers, that are very different than what you expect on International Drive or closer to the theme parks.
Jim Benning and Derrik Lang, thank you for joining us, and thank you our listeners for being with us. If you're planning a trip, be sure to connect with a AAA travel advisor. Check out AAA.com/travel or visit your local branch. This podcast is a production of Auto Club Enterprises. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave us a review. I'm Angie Orth. Thank you for traveling with AAA.